Every smart decision begins with understanding. Every bold step across a border requires insight. That's why we are here to explore Cameroon, its rich culture, its business potential, and the risks we must navigate. Farm Fresh is ready to grow, but growth without knowledge is a gamble. This isn't just a research, it's a strategic mission. This is our country's assessment, and it's the foundation of confident expansion.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for attending to this meeting. As part of Farm Fresh Top Management team, we are here to conduct a strategic assessment of Cameroon as a potential market for our dairy exports. Our goal is to evaluate the country's suitability for expansion by examining 6 key areas of risk. Let's begin with an overview of Cameroon. Cameroon, located in Central Africa, has a population of over 29 million and is known as Africa in miniature for its cultural and geographical diversity. Its economy is driven by agriculture, oil and manufacturing. As a member of CEMAC, it provides access to a broader regional market and uses the CFA franc, which is pegged to the euro. Politically, Cameroon is authoritarian, with power centralized in the presidency and limited political competition. While elections are held, they lack transparency. Business operations are shaped by collectivist values, which means making relationships with government officials, local authorities, and community leaders essential. The country follows a mixed economic system that allows for private enterprise and foreign investment, especially in agriculture and infrastructure. However, government control remains strong in areas like taxation, customs, and licensing. Cameroon operates under a dual legal system, civil law in francophone areas and common law in anglophone regions, and is part of the Organization for the Harmonization of Business Law in Africa, which harmonizes commercial laws across the region. For Farm Fresh, entering this market means complying with strict food import, health and labeling regulations overseen by the Ministries of Trade, Health and Livestock. Despite the opportunities, challenges such as regional conflict, corruption and limited infrastructure must be carefully considered before making any expansion decisions. I now invite our COO Dania to explain about the cross-cultural risk.
Cameroon has strong regional identities reflected in traditional crafts like woodwork in the west and pottery in the northwest. Clothing styles also vary by region, showing cultural diversity. Regarding the physical environment, the country's geography is diverse, ranging from dry northern savannas to volcanic mountains in the west and humid forests in the south. These conditions influence infrastructure, transport, and daily operations, with the south experiencing heavy rainfall and the north remaining hot and dry. According to a 2021 study using Hofstede's framework, Cameroon is moderately egalitarian with low power distance. It is strongly collectivist and leans feminine, emphasizing cooperation over competition. Moreover, the society is open to change with flexible norms, values tradition, and practices moderate self-restraint. In terms of customs, food sharing plays a key role in building trust and hospitality. Symbolic art and music are also integral to rituals and community events. Turning to social structure, the extended family is the core social unit, with social obligations often outweighing individual interests. Nepotism is generally viewed as trust-based, and gender roles are distinct, with men managing land and cash crops and women handling food production and household duties. Additionally, social class differences are visible through housing and language, with urban elites living in the concrete homes and speaking French or English, while rural populations often live in mud homes and speak local dialects. As for education, Cameroon follows both French and British systems, offering free and compulsory schooling from ages 6 to 12. However, access varies by region and gender. With over 250 local languages, French is spoken by 56% and English by 23%, while Pidgin is common in some regions. Communication tends to be indirect, with non-verbal cues such as avoiding eye contact, signaling respect. Finally, religion is pluralistic with 53% Christian, 22% Muslim and 25% following traditional beliefs. These often blend with ancestral practices that shape ceremonies and daily life.
Thank you, Dania. Next, Ainul, our Chief Human Resource Manager, will speak on country risk.
I'll be covering the country risk analysis for Cameroon as part of our market evaluation for potential entry. Cameroon presents a high country risk mainly due to political instability, systemic corruption, and weak infrastructure. Starting with political risk, President Wardah has held power since 1982, leading an authoritarian regime with limited political freedoms and recurring allegations of election manipulation. Beneath surface level stability, the country faces serious internal conflict between the Francophone government and Anglophone separatist groups in the northwest and southwest regions. In addition, Boko Haram activity in the north further exacerbated insecurity. These conflicts have led to violence, civilian displacement, and disruption, particularly in agricultural zones, directly impacting regional stability and business continuity. Corruption is another major issue. Cameroon's legal system is seen as inefficient and often influenced by political forces. According to Gun Integrity's Risk Report, bribery is widespread and public institutions are inefficient. Foreign businesses often face slow government processes, unclear rules, and inconsistent law enforcement, which can increase operational risks and costs. From an operational perspective, Cameroon ranks 167 out of 180 countries in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index. Key barriers include difficulty in obtaining business permit, poor enforcement of contract, and weak infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. Lastly, alien trade classify Cameroon as a sensitive risk for enterprises. This level reflects the combined impact of political unrest, legal unpredictability, and security threats. Even though there might be good business opportunities, investing in Cameroon would need careful planning and strong safety measures to manage the risk.
Thank you, Ainul. Let's now hear from our CFO, Afnan, on financial and currency risk.
Cameroon uses the Central African CFA funds pegged to the euro at a fixed rate. This peg provides monetary stability and helps keep inflation at 5.9% in 2023, with a projected drop to 5.5% in 2024, according to the IMF. However, this stability comes with a trade-off. About 69% of Cameroon public debt is in foreign currencies, and while 28.5% is in euro. Seemingly safe due to the fact the country remains exposed to shift in the euro-dollar exchange rate. Between 2021 and 2022, the euro fell 90% against the dollar, indirectly increasing Cameroon's debt by over 573 billion CFA francs in a year. That's nearly 48 billion added per month, highlighting how even a fixed currency regime doesn't shield fully from global financial shock. Cameroon is currently facing a high risk of debt distress, which means it could struggle to pay its debt if conditions get worse, like falling export or rising interest rates. As of 2024, the country's total debt is about 42% of its economy, with foreign debt at nearly 29%. That's manageable for now, but it's risky because some of that debt is expensive or exposed to exchange rate swings. Big problems come from loss-making state companies, especially the National Oil Refinery, Sonara, and electricity firms that the government might have to bail out. On the bright side, Cameroon is taking steps to reduce risky borrowing, cut waste, and strengthen its public finances. If this reform continues, it can gradually lower its debt and reduce the risk of crisis.
Thank you, Afnan. To assess market and commercial risk, we turn to Zafhran, our CMO.
So me, as Chief of Marketing Officer, I will explain and evaluate the commercial risk of Cameroon. One of commercial risk assessment that I identify is first, legal and regulatory environment. Legal system, which is a mix of French civil law and English common law, depending on the region. Second, contract enforcement, ranked poorly in the World Bank Doing Business report prior to its discontinuation. Long delays and corruption are common in the judiciary. Intellectual property protections weighed with inadequate enforcement mechanism. Business registration and licensing, time-consuming, and often involve bribes. So the conclusion for the first part is legal and regulatory risk is high due to inconsistent enforcement, corruption, and bureaucratic delays. Second is infrastructure and logistic risk. Transport, major ports, Douala, and Kribi are vital for trade but suffer from insufficient and congestion. Power supply, frequent power outage affect manufacturing and logistic operations. Telecom and internet growing but still limited and expensive in rural urban areas. Custom and infestation, opaque procedures, and frequent delays at port. So the conclusions for the second part is infrastructure risk is moderate to high, especially for exporter and logistic reliant business. Third is financial sector risk, banking system moderately developed, dominated by foreign banks. Access to credit limited for small and medium enterprise SME. Currency risk, CFA franc stability helps, but convertibility issues sometimes occur. So the conclusion for the third point is financial risk is moderate with concerns about credit access and liquidity. So to wrap up something about this commercial risk that I cover, Cameroon presents significant commercial opportunities, especially due to its strategic location and natural resources. However, high commercial risk driven by political instability, legal unpredictability, and infrastructure gap requires cautious and well-informed investment strategies.
Thank you, Zafhran. To wrap up our risk analysis, Jarif, our CPO, will now provide our finalization and proposed entry strategy.
Thank you, Wardah. After looking at everything today, the country's politics, economic, culture, and business risks, we believe that Farm Fresh should enter Cameroon, but carefully. There are very good opportunities, especially with a growing populations and demand for dairy, but the risks are also high, like political issues, poor road, and corruption. So we suggest start it small and safe. Don't build a farm or a factory right away. Instead, we export our product using a local distributor. This way, we save money, avoid big risks, and still learn about the market. Later, if things go well, we can work with the local farm or set up a small production factory. In short, yes, we should enter Cameroon, but step by step with a smart partner on the ground.
So, based on our thorough assessment, we conclude that Cameroon offers opportunity but also real risk. Based on our comprehensive analysis, Farm Fresh should proceed by starting with a farming partnership model. We will monitor the risk closely and adapt based on local realities before scaling. So, thank you everyone for your time, input, and engagement today. I look forward to our continued progress together. Assalamualaikum.